Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. I am so happy you are here with us today because we are tackling one of the biggest, most frustrating, and honestly, most universal struggles when it comes to learning English, or really learning anything.
That is right, Tom. It is that moment when you are in the middle of a conversation, everything is flowing, you feel confident, and then suddenly, boom, you hit a wall. You know exactly what you want to say. You can feel the idea in your head. Maybe you even know the word in your own language. But in English, it is gone. It has completely vanished.
Oh, the dreaded brain freeze. It happens to the best of us, even native speakers, actually. I was just telling you earlier, Ria, about how I forgot the word for colander while cooking dinner last night. I was standing there holding a pot of pasta, looking at my wife, saying, "Hand me the thing with the holes for the water."
The thing with the holes. I love that. And did she understand you?
She did eventually, after laughing at me. But for our listeners, that feeling is terrified because when you're learning English, that moment doesn't feel funny. It feels like failure. It feels like panic. You start thinking, oh no, my English is bad, or I'll never be fluent.
Exactly. And that is why today's topic is so close to my heart. We are not just talking about vocabulary lists. We are talking about how to remember words easily, naturally, and deeply so they are actually there when you need them, not just in a notebook, but on the tip of your tongue.
I think that distinction is huge, Ria, the difference between the notebook and the tongue, because I think a lot of our listeners are very diligent students. They have the notebooks. I bet many of you listening right now have a stack of notebooks at home filled with vocabulary words you wrote down once and never looked at again. We call that the notebook graveyard.
The notebook graveyard. That sounds so sad, but it's true. I used to do that when I was learning Spanish. I would write down 20 words a day. I felt so productive. I thought, look at me, I am learning so much. But then a week later, if you asked me to use one of those words in a sentence, nothing. Zero.
So, why do you think that happens? Why does our brain just dump that information?
I think it's because we're treating our brains like hard drives. We think we can just save a file and it stays there. But the human brain is not a computer. It is an emotional, biological machine. It prioritizes survival and emotion. If a word is just a collection of letters on a page, your brain says, this is boring, this is not important to my life, delete.
That is such a powerful insight. The brain filters out the boring stuff to save energy. So the secret to remembering words isn't about having a better memory. It's about tricking your brain into thinking these English words are actually important for your survival or your happiness.
Precisely. You have to make the word sticky. Think about a time you learned a word because of an embarrassing situation. I bet you never forgot that word.
Oh, absolutely. I have a story about that. I was in France trying to ask for preservatives for my bread, to keep it fresh. But the word I used actually meant, well, let's just say it meant something you buy at a pharmacy for protection. The baker looked at me with horror, and the whole line of customers started giggling. I turned bright red, but let me tell you, I never, ever forgot the correct word for preservative again.
See, that's the power of emotion. Your brain tagged that moment as high alert. It said, Tom, do not make this mistake again. And boom, the vocab is locked in forever. Now, obviously, we don't want our listeners to have to humiliate themselves to learn English, but we can use that same principle. We need to create an emotional connection to the words.
So, how do we do that without the embarrassment? How does someone sitting at home, maybe studying alone, create that emotional hook?
One of my favorite ways is visualization, but not just seeing the object. You have to make it weird. You have to make it extreme. Let's say you want to learn the word exhausted. Don't just think of a tired person. Imagine yourself running a marathon while carrying a giant elephant on your back, sweating buckets, collapsing on the floor, gasping for air. Feel the heaviness in your muscles. If you close your eyes and truly visualize that extreme scene while saying the word exhausted, your brain aches up.
I love that. You're turning the word into a movie, a mental movie.
Yes, a mental movie where you are the star, and the weirder, the better. If you want to remember the word slippery, don't just think of ice. Imagine the floor of your kitchen is made of banana peels and you are sliding around in your socks, crashing into the refrigerator. It makes you smile, right?
It does. I'm picturing it right now. And that smile is key. When you smile or laugh, you release dopamine. And dopamine is like glue for memory. It helps the information stick. If you are bored studying a list of words like abandon, ability, able, you are fighting against your own biology.
And speaking of lists, Tom, I think we need to talk about context because lists are the enemy of context.
Agreed. I always tell my students, words do not live alone. They live in families. They live in neighborhoods. If you see a word by itself, it is like seeing a stranger on the street. You don't know them. But if you see that word in a sentence, in a story, suddenly you know who they are.
That is a beautiful metaphor, the stranger on the street. So instead of writing huge equals very big, what should they do?
Write a sentence that is true for you. That is the secret. Don't write, the elephant is huge. You don't own an elephant. You don't care about elephants right now. Write something about your life. Write, the pile of laundry in my bedroom is huge. Or, my love for pizza is huge.
My love for pizza is huge. I relate to that one. But yes, making it personal connects the English word to your actual reality. It bridges the gap between the language and your life. Because that is what we want, right? We don't want English to be a subject we study. We want English to be a tool we use to describe our world.
Exactly. And this leads to another technique that I know you love, Ria. The idea of chunking. Because often we try to remember single words, but native speakers don't speak in single words. We speak in chunks.
Oh, chunking is magic. It changed everything for me. Instead of learning make and decision separately, you learn make a decision. You learn them as one unit. So when you are speaking, you don't have to pause and think, do I do a decision? Do I have a decision? Oh, wait, I make a decision. If you learn the chunk, it just flows out.
It reduces the cognitive load. Your brain only has to find one piece of information, the chunk, instead of gluing together three different words while you're trying to speak. It makes you sound so much more fluent, too.
And it helps with grammar without actually studying grammar. If you learn the phrase, I look forward to seeing you, you just know it is correct. You don't have to analyze why it is seeing and not see. You just know the melody of the phrase.
The melody. I like that word. Language is music, isn't it? It has a rhythm. Sometimes you can remember a word just because of how it sounds or how it feels in your mouth.
Yes, we should get physical with words. This might sound a bit crazy to some people, but you have to speak the words out loud. You cannot learn vocabulary silently. If you only read it, your eyes know the word, but your mouth doesn't. Your mouth has muscle memory.
That is so true. I've had students who can read complex novels in English, but they struggle to order a coffee. It's because they haven't trained the muscles. So when you're learning a new word, say it, shout it, whisper it, sing it.
I tell my students to act it out. If you are learning the word whisper, actually whisper it. If you are learning shout, shout it. If you're learning stretch, physically stretch your arms while you say it. You are connecting the physical sensation with the sound. It creates multiple pathways in the brain to the same information.
So we have visualization, we have personal context, we have chunks, and we have physical action. These are all active strategies. They require effort, and I think that is the hard truth. Learning words easily doesn't mean learning them lazily. It means using methods that work, but you still have to show up.
You do, but it becomes fun. It stops feeling like study and starts feeling like a game. And there is one more thing we have to mention, Tom. The concept of time, spaced repetition.
The spacing effect. This is scientifically proven, right?
It is. The science basically says that if you study a word for an hour today, you will probably forget it. But if you look at that word for 1 minute today, 1 minute tomorrow, 1 minute next week, and 1 minute next month, you will remember it forever.
It's like watering a plant. You can't just dump a bucket of water on a plant once a year and expect it to survive. You have to give it a little bit of water regularly.
That is such a good image. And I think this relieves a lot of pressure. Listeners, please hear me on this. It is okay to forget. In fact, forgetting is part of the process. When you forget a word and then remind yourself of it, your memory of it gets stronger. So don't beat yourself up when you can't remember. Just check, remind yourself, and move on. The next time, it will stay a little longer.
I think that mindset shift is crucial. We are so afraid of mistakes. We treat a lapse in memory as a character flaw. I am not smart enough. No, you are just human. Your brain is doing what brains do. You just need to interrupt the forgetting curve.
Exactly. And you can do this naturally. You don't always need a fancy app or flashcards, though those can help. You can just look around your room. If you learned the word ceiling last week, look up right now. Is it there? Say ceiling. Okay, good. You just refresh the memory.
I like to play a game when I'm walking down the street. I narrate my life in the language I'm learning. I look at a car and think, that is a blue car. I see a tree and think, that is a tall oak tree. If I see something and I don't know the word, I pull out my phone, look it up, and then I have a new word that is immediately relevant to my surroundings.
That is what I call the world is your classroom. You are not limited to a textbook. English is everywhere. It is on the labels of your shampoo bottle. It is in the settings of your phone. Change your phone language to English. That is a huge one.
Oh, that is a bold move. I did that once, and I couldn't figure out how to turn off my alarm clock. It was very stressful, but I definitely learned the words for snooze and dismiss.
See? Survival mode. But seriously, immersing yourself in small ways keeps the words fresh. And Tom, I want to go back to something you mentioned at the beginning, the fear. The fear of pausing in conversation.
Right, the silence.
We feel like we have to speak at 100 miles per hour. But if you watch interviews with famous people, thoughtful people, they pause. They take a breath. They search for the right word.
That is a very good point. We interpret our own silence as, I am failing, but the listener usually interprets it as, he is thinking.
Exactly. So if you forget a word, don't panic. Take a breath. Use a filler phrase like, oh, what is the word I'm looking for? Or, it slipped my mind. Those phrases are actually very advanced English. They make you sound natural. And usually the person you're talking to will help you.
And that interaction, that moment of asking for help, is actually a connection. It is communication. It is not a test.
It is not a test. I wish we could tattoo that on everyone's arm. Conversation is not a test. It is a dance. Sometimes you step on your partner's toes, but you just apologize, laugh, and keep dancing.
I love that. So let's recap a little bit for our listeners because we have covered a lot of ground. We started with the idea that rote memorization, just reading lists, doesn't work because it has no emotion and no context.
Right. So instead, we need to create mental movies. Visualize the word in a weird, funny, or extreme situation. Use your imagination.
Then connect it to your life. Don't use generic sentences. Use sentences that are true for you. Make the word personal.
And learn in chunks. Don't just learn isolated bricks. Learn the whole wall. Learn phrases like, I'm interested in, rather than just interested.
Get physical. Say it loud. Act it out. Let your mouth muscle memory take over.
And finally, have patience with yourself. Use spaced repetition. Water the plant a little bit every day. And don't be afraid of the silence or the mistakes.
You know, Ria, there is one more thing I want to add. It's about curiosity. I think the people who remember words best are the ones who are genuinely curious about the world. They see a new word and they think, oh, cool, a new way to describe the world, rather than, oh, another thing to memorize.
That is the secret sauce. Curiosity turns obligation into opportunity. If you approach English with a sense of wonder, the words stick because you want them to. You welcome them in.
I remember a student of mine, Elena. She loved gardening. She struggled with business English, but she could name every flower and tool in English because she loved it. She watched English gardening shows on YouTube. She didn't feel like she was studying. She felt like she was learning about her passion.
So maybe the advice is find your passion in English. If you love cooking, learn recipes. If you love football, read math reports. If you love fashion, follow English fashion bloggers. The vocabulary will follow your interest.
Absolutely. The brain remembers what the heart cares about. That's really what it comes down to.
The brain remembers what the heart cares about. Tom, that is poetic. We should put that on a t-shirt.
Maybe we will. But truly, for everyone listening, I want you to take a moment and think about how you have been learning. Have you been hard on yourself? Have you been boring your brain with endless lists?
If the answer is yes, shake it off. Today is a new day. Try one of these techniques today. Just one. Pick 5 words you have been struggling with. Make a funny story with them. Draw a silly picture. Talk to yourself in the mirror.
And see how it feels. See if the words stay a little longer this time.
And remember, building a vocabulary is a lifelong journey. You don't finish learning English. I am still learning words in my own language. It is a process of constant growth.
It is, and you are not alone in it. We are all here, stumbling over our words, forgetting things, and figuring it out together. That is what makes it real.
Real English voices.
Exactly. Before we go, Ria, do you have a favorite weird word in English? One that you just love the sound of?
Oh, that is a fun question. I love the word flabbergasted.
Flabbergasted.
It just sounds like what it means. It means to be completely shocked, so surprised that you cannot speak. I was flabbergasted. It is so fun to say. What about you, Tom?
I think I like shenanigans. It means silly or mischievous behavior. Stop your shenanigans. It just sounds playful.
Shenanigans. That is a great one. See, English is fun. It is full of flavor.
So listeners, go out there and find your own favorite words. Embrace the shenanigans of learning.
Be flabbergasted by how much you can actually remember when you start having fun with it.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope this conversation makes your next study session a little lighter, a little brighter, and a lot more effective.
Keep talking, keep listening, and keep trusting your amazing brain. You've got this.
Until next time, this is Real English Voices.
Bye, everyone.
See you soon.
Key vocabulary recap from this episode.
Wait, Tom, before we completely sign off, maybe we should do a quick lightning round just to show them how to apply what we talked about right now.
Oh, I love that idea. A live demo. Okay, what do you have in mind?
Let's take 3 words or concepts we used in this episode and create a quick mental hook for them, for the listeners who are still with us.
Okay, challenge accepted. The first word I'm thinking of is context.
Context. Okay. Don't just think of the definition. Listeners, imagine a picture frame, a beautiful gold picture frame. If you hold a word in your hand like a puzzle piece, it's just a piece of cardboard. But if you put it inside the picture frame, you see the whole image. The frame is the context.
Nice. The frame is the context. Without the frame, the picture falls apart. Okay, my turn. The phrase, tip of the tongue.
That's a good idiom.
I want everyone to physically stick their tongue out right now. Go ahead, no one is watching. Touch the tip of your tongue with your finger. Now imagine a little tiny word sitting right there on the edge, jumping up and down, trying to dive off. Feel that sensation. That is tip of the tongue.
That is very vivid. I can feel it. Okay, last one. Notebook graveyard.
Oh, the sad one. Visualize a dark, dusty shelf in your closet. There are cobwebs everywhere. You hear spooky wind blowing. And there lie your old notebooks, closed, cold, and forgotten. It's a graveyard. Now visualize yourself opening the window, letting the sun in, grabbing a notebook, and opening it up. You are bringing the zombies back to life.
Resurrecting the words. That is actually a great image. Don't let your words become zombies. Bring them back to life by using them.
Exactly. See, it takes 10 seconds, but now those ideas are stickier.
You are the master of imagery, Rhea.
I just like to have fun. And that is the message, isn't it?
It really is. Okay, now we can officially say goodbye. Thank you for sticking around for the bonus round.
Yes, thank you. Go create your own mental hooks.
Goodbye.